living in your car and adapting to different environments. That's a huge part of the journey, living as a nomad, living as someone full time in your car or van. Yesterday I moved to a new location, to a new campground, after a couple weeks spending time in a different area. So for me, I'm in Florida. I was on the east coast of Florida. And then, yesterday I came to the west coast of Florida and I had to adapt to a new environment. Same state, but different environment. The speed and the culture is a little bit slower here on the west coast. And initially, there's resistance because you're already a little bit like disgruntled and upset because you have to learn new roads, new stores, new areas, new ins and outs of the environment, especially if you've never been here before. Now, I've been on the west coast of Florida, but I still have to experience it more in layers. So when you travel to areas, you have to do it in layers, meaning that you go one time, you learn some things about the area and the environment, and then you'll have to go another time. And then over the course of going 3, 4 times, etc., you learn the environment better. So definitely adapting to a new environment, especially the first layer around, the first time around, is very challenging mentally because you're in for some pain. Just like if you have a job and then you decide to take a different job, even if the pay is higher, the initial pain of taking a new job is hard because you're thinking about, I have to learn a new system, how this company works. How do I enter my payroll? That's a new system. How do I submit this? That's a new system. So you're adapting to a new environment. That's why many times people don't change jobs, even if they're offered a better one. They resist the pain of adapting to a new environment. And when you live in a car, that's what you do. You adapt to a new environment constantly, at least for me, at this point in my journey. Some people may live in their car and van and they have something set up on a piece of land, or they're stealth camping in one area and they stay there for an extended period of time. For me, about every 2 weeks, I keep it moving. At this season of my life, I pretty much stay at campgrounds. I'll do some mixing into some free camping, and there are free campsites here in Florida through the water management system, the Florida Water Management website. You can look. You have to go online. You have to apply for a permit. And, you can camp for free in some areas, but they're a little bit in the middle of nowhere. So I don't mind paying for, whether it's a local park, state park, or whatever. They can range anywhere from $22 to $26 to $35 per night, depending. But, the whole adapting to a new environment, it initially makes you upset. But like here I am the second day in a new environment, and I'm starting to get happy. I'm starting to, all right, here's this store, here's that store. Because I look online, as a nomad, you want to look online on where's the closest Planet Fitness, where's the closest Starbucks, where's the closest place that you want to have fun as far as like walking on the beach or recreational area. And so, but it's the difference between looking online and then like driving through the streets and seeing and getting a feel for how your day is going to flow. Because I like to plan out like how my day flows, so I have structure. I like free-flowing creativity so that I don't have to plan everything, but I like to know kind of level of how I'm going to structure my day, especially as I get ready to approach the work week because I work remotely. So for the days I work, I like to keep a level of structure I need to stay productive, to keep my mind focused, and it's what I need to do. But even if I didn't, I still structure my day even on the weekends, just a little bit more free flow. But the second day in this environment, and I'm learning to like the slower culture. I'm learning to embrace the difference and to allow it be the variety, the spice of life that living in your car and traveling brings. And they say that, I remember watching the show House Hunters. It was a TV series on some channel. And I remember there was one episode where people were buying an island condo. And they were moving from the United States to this island condo. And they say it took us a while to adapt to island time. Meaning that like they came from a part in the United States where everything was rush, rush, rush. You want a contractor to come in your house, they'd come tomorrow. But in the island, it's like, they're like, all right, well, we'll do it tomorrow. Or it's like, there's a slower pace. There's a slower energy. And initially you'll resent that. You'll get upset with that. Like, what's wrong with them? But then as you adapt, you may say, you know what? They have some things right. A lot of times, people say like, this country's better, that country's better. But really, it's just a resistance of difference. And many times, if you spend time going to different places, you may adapt to that environment. And you may say, you know what, there's some things that are valuable here that I don't do in the other environment. And so traveling every 2 weeks, for some people, that's a huge mental burden. And for some people that really struggle mentally in life, that's why they don't want to hit the road, possibly because they know they are in for a lack of stability. They're in for a lack of being settled. Now, part of this nomad life, if you're really living full-time without any home base, is you're never really settled. Now, I feel a little bit better now because I've kind of settled into the area, into the campground, at least for the next few days. So now I know I have a predictable routine. Humans are creatures of habit. So changing the environment is you're going to change your habits. You're going to change some things. You have some core habits of your life, but all your routines are going to be different when you change an environment. So we resist that as humans. I know I had one viewer that used to come on here all the time. He was a big advocate of having a home base because he said you're going against your natural rhythm of a human to have somewhere to be settled. To some extent, that's true, but I've had a home base. I owned a house for 15 years, and what I can tell you is, yes, that does solve the problem of being settled, but it can also cause the agony of being around the same things all the time, the same routines, and you get bored with life, you get frustrated with life, and I don't like having to take care of anything. I like the fact that even though I have to deal with adapting to a new environment, other than the time I have reserved at a campground, I have no responsibility. I have no responsibility to take care of that land, to take care of the utilities, to take care of the surrounding areas. If my neighbors are really bad, I won't see them in a couple days. Like even last night at the campground, the neighbors, they weren't loud, but there's people like right next to me. These campsites were a little bit closer. But in my mind, I said, I'm here for a couple of nights, and I'm out of here. So you have to give yourself time to adapt to a new environment. And you have to have a level of mental willingness to do it. And you have to realize after you do adapt, you're going to find your joy again. You're going to find your inspiration again. And then, yes, you're going to have to do it again in a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and it keeps cycling. So maybe at a certain point you get burnt out. But what I do recommend when you get to a certain mature part of the journey is that you embrace spending a little bit of money to settling into a campground for extended stays, whether it's 5 days or 14 days. Usually most parks, they have a 14-day limit, whether it's a free park or a paying park. But I believe that solves a level of keeping you settled. And then, you go to the next place and, you find like a little loop or a little routine. Again, certainly depending on how you plan to live this lifestyle. Do you plan to travel across the country? Do you have a remote position where you can do that? Are you going to be within the same state because you have a fixed job? Certainly like for 2 years when I lived in New Jersey, I had a fixed job, so I had to handle my nomad life different. But for that situation, I had to adapt to the cold winters of New Jersey, which was very hard. So whether you're going to be static because you have a static job in one area, or whether you're going to travel, maybe just even in with one state because you have a remote position, either way, there's a level of adaptation to new environment, whether it's the change of seasons, change of towns, or change of states. So learning the cycle of adaptation, that initially there's resistance, there's even a little bit of resentment and agony, then you settle in, then you adjust, then you research, then you go through layers, then you adapt, and then you find your joy again. You kind of cycle through that. And you embrace the journey. Because life is about enjoying the journey. There really is no end game. I mean, there's a progressive level of trying to get better in life and trying to make your life better. But, really the whole point of life is try to, as much as possible, enjoy the journey. Adapt and enjoy the journey. Peace and love.